But yeah, spawning over in the top right-hand side as our blue toss, it is PtitDrogo.
And at the bottom left, our red Zerg is Aristori. A bit of a newcomer to the events.
And remember, every player is 0-2 that we cast from this point on. So every player fighting for their life. And if you're Drogo, a far more experienced player, he's been in this position before. Well, no, I'm not calling him bad. But you know, I think
he's actually really used to be almost eliminated.
Yeah. I mean, if you said that about me, then absolutely. But you know, every player has come to the point where you either win this match or you're eliminated from a tournament. Not because you're 0-2, but you know, eventually you get to that stage, be it you get second place or whatever. But Drogo's been here before. He's the kind of guy that takes it very chill when it comes to StarCraft these days, and he's had a pretty tricky road getting here so far. Like, you look at a lot of the players that are 0-2, and it's like, in fact, let me just make sure who PtitDrogo lost to. So it was Lambo 1-2 and you Thermal 1-2. Like that. Yeah. It feels a bit mean for him to be here. Aristori, on the other hand, it's not easy either. First match was Raynor 0-2, then Gung Fu Banda 0-2. So neither player had an easy route getting to 0-2.
Man, yeah, it's brutal when you look at some of the matches people have to play, and then, like, you know, like you're like, wait, Drogo's 0-2. It's like, well, who do you play? It's like, oh my god, he played like some tough opponents. Obviously, Thermal played pretty darn good PvP when he played against him as well, and got PvT game 3. So, yeah, I do favor Drogo coming in against Aristori. I mean, this is a Zerg player who I've seen in the online cups for a long time. You know, he's always been playing the online stuff. This is kind of his biggest splash so far, qualifying into this event. So, yeah, cool to see as our Stargate goes down in the main base from PtitDrogo. So we're going to see him kind of setting up. Very interested to see what Aristori brings, to see if he's going to play a bit of macro, see if he's going to have like an aggro side of things planned out here. Because Drogo is typically very good in PvZ. I would not like to play Drogo in a bit of a longer PvZ at all. So maybe my preference would be to see Aristori actually come in and, like I said, get a bit aggressive early.
Yeah, I don't know too much of the history of Aristori, but Drogo is extremely methodical about how he approaches games. Very much similar to how I feel Roddy teases Big Gabe a little bit, like, oh, I did this much damage, and now it means the 7-minute attack will absolutely dominate as opposed to my 6-minute 52 attack. But like he's got like this tree diagram of like, okay, I did this, it worked out very well. So it means that if I do this, it's also going to go ridiculously well. And was going for a bit of a rotty wall over there, but does clog it up with that extra pylon.
We have seen this wall so much.
It's the wall, man. Right? It's the wall. Yeah. It was Gung Fu against Bly. Like, the Lynx just ran in the side, and then you had those Adepts sitting where those Adepts are now, and they just ran on in.
At least he knows what's up. Oracle coming through. The warp gate is a building. All queens, drones, the Ovi, everything getting settled here. The Spore Crawler continues out as well. And looks as though Drogo's very ready just to move straight in towards base number 3. So no messing around for him. Just get that third base up and running immediately. And yeah, Oracle shows up, gets a couple of drones. He will have more Oracles on the way still for the moment.
Comes over, 2 drones, first trouble. It's not a bad start. Obviously took a little bit of damage there. Kills the lava as well. Gets some extra damage going. Yeah, Drogo not being thrown off. He's absolutely getting to play the game that he wants. Aristori didn't try and slow down this third. You tend to see that a lot of players with the Lings do tend to give it a little poke. We saw it in the Raynor series earlier. Right now, these queens were in a good location. Still getting a drone. Drogo very, very mavericky with his oracles right now. Just goes in for the Zest approach. Like, as soon as one's done, go in attack. Second one's done, go in attack. Oh, Roach Warren, nice and early.
Yep, get that Roach Warren down. A few drones and overlords continue to come about. I'm just going to have the Robo Facility Forge and the Twilight Building on the side of Drogo. So again, all of those structures up and running. Next is coming through as well. A couple more probes popping out. I mean, we are waiting to see if Aristori wants to do anything in particular aggressive, but honestly, it looks like we're going to see standard throughout here.
It really does. And getting a few Spore Crawlers now. You might be like, hey, why don't you make those earlier? Well, every drone that can be gathering, you want to be doing that. And now that this queen counts higher, they might be getting a bit more adventurous on the map, just getting lots more creep tumors and whatnot. Aristori taking a 4th base and going for the ranged missile upgrade here. So not going for the melee. Very much going to be about roaches this game and ravages, maybe into hydras later on. I mean, very often you do tend to see Zergs go for the melee as well, even if they are going for those kind of army comps. But Drogo getting up to 6 gases very quickly here and a Templar Archives. Like if there was a unit comp that I would say is very Drogo-esque, it was Zealot Arkham.
Yeah.
Like those are his 2 big battle units that he loves to play with.
Yep, and this is going to be exactly what he builds into here. So Drogo living as we knew him. Immortal coming up as well, as we do just see Lingroach Ravager building 66 drones at the moment. I mean, the 4th isn't done yet, so no reason to kind of build more than 66 workers. But as this set of overlords finishes, we do expect to see drones. Otherwise, this starts to look very aggressive from Aristori. I'm not sure that I would really love him actually attacking, because everything Drogo is doing is set up to have a lot of units too. I'm very happy that we actually do indeed see, after the supply block, 7 more drones on the way.
And an early storm as well. Nice and early. A couple of mortals joining the mix as well. Still not like a big army out for Drogo. He's really spent a lot on the tech, and with those 6 gases up and running on every base nice and early, I'm not surprised. This is quite a nice little grab. Will he be able to clean any of this up? No, Drogo is quite quick to get the switch going, but makes me think that he would have liked to have kept them as High Templars, just to have more storms available later on. Because Drogo, I think he is the kind of guy that he'll get his army together, maybe 160 supply, and he's going to push. I can't see it not happening, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. Storm's going to be done. 4th Nexus building up as well. Cannons getting set. I'm honestly surprised how passive it's been thus far. I really expected to see something a little extra earlier, but I mean, Aristori just wants to go into Hive and Lurk Again, so he will go towards that. I mean, Drogo, if he could go before those structures are ready, would be amazing. And unless he wants to wait for +2 attack, I don't think there's anything else to really wait for outside of just largening your army, right? So I guess we'll see what we do.
It's going to be Hydras, and it's a pretty fast Hive on the go with a Lurkaden as well. Drogo did try and cancel this 5th base on the goal, didn't quite get it done. But I see a lot of Immortals, a lot of High Templar, Archon. Most likely, he's going up to 8 gases as well. Hoi, hoi, hoi.
A lot of gases. It's a lot of tech available. Well, that said, though, I mean, Lurkaden about to be finished, and the Hive's not far behind it, so we will be able to get those Lurker upgrades started ASAP, so that should be a pretty big step in the right direction. Obviously get those Lurkers up to speed, and then... I mean, honestly, with enough Lurkers, I always feel as though Immortal Archon will struggle a little bit, but of course we do have Storms as well, so it's not just Immortal Archon, but would like to see something that has a bit longer range, whether it be Disruptors, Colossus, something along those lines would be... I mean, Colossus don't really fit into this army. This army can fight Lurks. I'm just worried about there's like a point at which you just can't fight into that many Lurkers, right? So that's kind of my concern, but we're still a ways away from that. I mean, that takes a lot of money that Aristori doesn't have yet.
Nidus will absolutely throw a spanner in the works, though. So Drogo's up to 8 gateways right now, with another 6 completing very soon. He's got a lot of gas to spend. He's taking a 5th base behind us as well. Lots of static defense coming down. This is a very scary Protoss army to go up against, and there's a lot of upgrades not yet online for Aristori here. Like, Lurker range is about to finish up. He's getting +2. Hydra range as well. Although, he's very well situated to take it on. And that Nidus, really, if that gets in the main base or something like that, could be very, very problematic.
Yep. And it is set up to potentially go into the main base. That's the Changeling right there. The Overseer there, too. I mean, Drogo is sitting outside the front all well and cute until you actually have to get back home ASAP. Now, of course, he can probably recall. But he isn't making any progress right here. About to get Blink as well. I'm not sure how many Stalkers he really wants to be utilizing right now. Aristori's upgrade tab, by the way. Adrenal Glands, Adaptive Talent, +3, +2. Just getting a lot of tech online in the near future. We are going to find a decent storm with that High Templar coming through and looking good.
Drogo does have supply available to warp in to deal with this in the main, but he's just done a massive warp in on the front line, and this could be dangerous. I mean, he's got Pylon right there, and now Aristori is attacking on 2 separate fronts here. Drogo's going to go meet it at the 5th base. He's actually going to go attack at the main as well. Like, Aristori's got nothing on defense really to deal with the push, but Drogo, he's on a bit of a clock here. He's got to deal with everything.
Yeah, I kind of like that Drogo pulled the trigger, though, because I think he realizes, like, well, you know what? These lurkers are here. They can't be at home, so let's send it. But the problem is he's got no good way to deal with those lurkers in the main base. So they're going to do a lot, and eventually Aristori could just bring them back. The Oracles will be the activation to actually try and push these lurkers away. We'll force them to unburrow and move around now, so... Well, it looks as though those lurkers will all drop. Aristori's supply is only about 20 ahead. Drogo has so much money. Obviously, if he can retake his main and actually get some structures back up, he can spend that money. That would be great. Right now, he's just losing Archons. He had a couple in the Prism as well, so he didn't have everything fighting at once. I mean, that's expensive. He warps in 10 more Zealots. Again, though, tech units just out on their own. Does lift up the Archons, pulls them back. It's a lot of Zerglings, and the Hydras will chase the Prism away. That is a big set of plays just made.
It really is, and Drogo's been kind of sent back to a little bit of the Stone Age. He's very lucky that his main base did not die there. Look how close that Nexus was to dropping. Gets quite a few of his gateways back online as well, because again, 14 gateways is nothing to scoff at. It really isn't, and that's still a hell of a lot of gas to play with, and he's choosing to go into a 3-star gate with a fleet beacon over here.
Yep, I mean, to be fair, he's getting to this, so he's like, well, what can I do to fight against lurkers? Well, carriers would be pretty darn good. And I don't really disagree. To be fair, Aristori doesn't have, you know, too much economy himself. He's only on 4 bases, trying to rebuild to the 5th base on the gold. So yeah, I mean, I think Drogo's riding, kind of tacking up towards that. He had a lot of money to spend, and he's got a lot of High Templar to help him survive until that point as well. He's going to kill off all these Lings. Aristori really feels to be kind of hitting a kind of a stumbling block, I guess, when it comes to his supply right now. He's not been able to make any progress in a hot second, and these Archons are going to get rid of 2 lurkers. The Prism will unfortunately fall. The Archon goes down, but hey, any lurk you get rid of right now, I think, is a big win for Drogo. Less lurkers really makes this a much less scary Zerg army, and that means an easier time getting up to your carriers.
It really does. Drogo's stabilizing to some degree, isn't he? This run by, I was a bit scared, but nice warp ins by Drogo. He's catching up on the workers again. And where are the Stargates, actually? Okay, they're in the natural, but they're kind of tucked away. And Aristori didn't see them, but he did get to see that fleet beacon.
Yeah, information is obviously huge in that regard, as we are going to be seeing. There's a couple of lurkers coming in from the side. Great storms. We had a couple more storms available. We only got one off before the High Templar died. In general, though, I think Drogo's going to be pretty okay with this fight, but running away, he's going to lose a lot of units as well. Just doesn't have any way to kind of really stop the Hydras from kind of getting those shots off. Ooh. Finally gets out of reach.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more Zealots joining the mix, but a tiny bit too late. But Aristori, he is very much about this, like, kind of, I want to say lowish tech, like having lots of Hydras, lots of Lurkers, and that's about it. He's going to start having to add on some Vipers against what Drogo's doing here, I feel. Or he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep. I think we're just going to get rid of a couple of these cannons. I mean, these carriers are looking like they're going to be game winners, honestly. I mean, we're going to try and Nidus. It feels like Aristori absolutely wants to win this game before the carriers are in too high a number, but again, 3 at a time. They're going to be a sizable number pretty quickly, but this Nidus is going up. So that's actually not going to be stopped, and Drogo's going to have troubles in the main base again.
It's kind of crazy. Like, these Niduses, they've not been hidden. They've been very much spotted by Drogo's buildings, and, you know, comes back with a pretty large army to greet it, but this ain't pretty. That's quite a few Lurkers. 3 Lurkers are burrowed over there, dealing a lot of damage. That Nexus still somehow staying alive. Only 1 carrier over here, and he's just going, he's doubling down, bringing out more. Going to take out that carrier most likely as well. Does get to fly over these buildings. Nexus down. Drogo's supply absolutely plummeting. And where's his army?
It's dead, mate.
He doesn't have one.
He recalled it into Lurkers. That never really ends well. I was questioning. I kind of understood it because I guess the Hydras were there, so the carriers weren't just going to be able to sit there and deal with the Lurkers. But I'm recalling into the Lurkers is always a brave play, and I see these Lurkers here right now just firing away. There's no detection, so the Lurkers are just getting free shots. The Hydras, enough of them, do they survive to go after the carriers? We're going to try and dive for 1. At least we do finish that one off from earlier on. The Lurkers are going to make a very slow waddle back into the Nidus, and 2 of them missed the bus. And there's actually an Obs in the corner. This Obs was here this whole time, bro. He could have been so much more useful.
It could have been a lot more useful, man. Oh, yeah, this is not looking promising for Drogo at all. I mean, Oh, he's also lost one of his big Stargates, lost his whole main here. It's a lot of production down. He's still on 10 gateways and 2 Stargates, but still, Aristori, 75 drones. It's not the strongest eco, but I don't think it needs to be at this point. Like this number of units, 3-0 Hydras over here, they will. Yeah, they'll deal, like, the carrier number needs to be like 8+ to deal with this, and it's just not that. Storm's really good, though. It really is.
Yeah. Kind of like to see Aristori just add a Spire just in case, you know? I don't think he needs it. I don't think this game's actually got a lot of length left in it, but it would not be a bad thing to have on the way, just in case somehow you eat too many Storms, you don't break through here, the carrier count keeps increasing. Like I say, I'm nitpicking because the game's pretty much over. There wasn't much else to say, but one of those moments where, like, that's the only way he could have lost if he has no way to deal with the carriers eventually. But obviously, he did enough to put himself in position, and that is now going to be time for game number 2 with Drogo down a map. Drogo, he's been here before, though, Ben, right? Like, on the verge of elimination.
He's been here before, mate. He's been here before. He's got the experience. Mate, there was one point in that game where he had, like, 2k banked, and it was just, like, what? Definitely, you know, a little bit sloppy, but it also felt like his first move out, he got kind of stuck in the middle of the map, where I think he could have went a lot faster. It also felt like his immortal count in general, like those kind of builds, I think they are better with a second robo, or if you're just pumping out immortals constantly and chrono boosting them out, definitely is very scary for those types of Zerg armies. But there was definitely something scaring him that I wasn't fully aware of. And I mean, we do get to see the whole map in its entirety, but yeah, those Niduses, man, they just came down and he had no idea. He went full MKP on those bad boys.
That's a great reference. Full MKP.
Mate,
I never heard that one actually used.
I've been waiting for a long time for that one, you know. The good old not seeing the
spine
creep
crawlers next to knocking down your in-base rocks.
Mate, that single-handedly is the worst thing I've ever seen. And, you know, I still, to this day, cannot believe it. I'm so happy that he kind of got away scot-free afterwards and was just like, you know, never to be seen again. But that, oh my goodness. Everything about that game actually drove me insane.
Might be one of the worst games ever played in Pro League.
I'd go as far to, and Mapu's just like, you know what, I'll do this funky little flick on these players because these guys are absolute arseholes talking about other stuff. But everything about that game, Drogo, everything, like he for those that don't know, there was a particular game of MKP that you know, he was playing against Beyond. Was it Beyond? No, Beal, sorry.
Beal, yeah.
And it was this map where it was quite famous for going for a backdoor hatchery play with Spine Rush, and oh my goodness, he goes to the other base, sees there's a late spawning pool, and sees there's no hatchery. And so what does he do with his Reapers? He goes back home to his ramp and doesn't check, but it turns out he did check, and he sees this hatchery and these spine crawlers in the back of his base, and it's like, oh no, what am I doing? I'm gonna go 3 CC, and then the level of like acting. Oh, it was beautiful, man. He should have won a freaking Oscar for that one. I tell you, I've never been so oi.
Well, we've got ourselves a cyber call coming down here from Drogo, and we wait to see what the plan will be from him as we get ourselves into this game number 2. What do you think Drogo goes a bit more aggressively? Like, I don't even think I was really afraid of Aristori's macro necessarily. I think he just needs to be sharper onto those Niduses, and pretty much all of his problems would have been solved. Spend a bit of money, be on top of those Niduses, and it's a very different game already.
I don't think he needs to change too much. Like, being a bit more gung-ho and, you know, looking at his minimap. It's very easy to be brutal, you know, about those kind of situations, but just a little bit cleaner, and the macro just popping out the units he likes to make. More immortals too. Immortals are never a bad thing, man.
Yep. Immortals are never a bad thing. Stargate opening, so for the moment, Drogo at least will continue in a similar way to how everything started off in the last one. Obviously get some oracles up. I mean, his harass was fine. He got in with the oracle. He dealt some damage. So that part of it really was okay previously. As we have the link speed coming through, it's about halfway done from Aristori. I wonder if he's, 1-0 lead. It's not really a great map to be aggressive on. I was thinking, like, if you're up 1-0, you maybe mix it up yourself, but if anything, this is the map where you, again, just continue to play macro most likely, because especially if you like the lurkers, there's a lot of chokes you can utilize the lurkers with on this one as well, so I kind of feel like that might be a factor.
Yeah, this was nice defense from Aristori, and quite a few drones there could have fell. Like, many different hits on many different drones. So far, not really taken any damage. So that's nice for him. Drogo with a Stargate again. Has a nice wall off here. Only one little thin entrance and not a roddy wall. It is a totally normal wall.
Yep. Totally normal. Beautiful. Nothing wrong with that at all. As we get ready to drop our Nexus down on the third base. So Drogo will just go straight to 3 bases. Again, he's ready to just play round 2 of what we saw in game number 1. So getting that settled in. Feelings looking to get across there. The Adept is going to be able to push those back though. Nothing too crazy there either.
Definitely. Lots of drones coming out for Aristori. He's got queens in seemingly very good locations. Just going for the spore crawlers one by one, whereas queens are not. It looks like he's macroing pretty solid.
Yep. No, absolutely. This is, I mean, just, there's nothing to say, right? It's just a bog standard PvZ, mate. Like, like, it's been, we've had some long back and forth games today. We've had some long series. I've just looked at this and, like, this is just straight up PvZ, We are just going to sit here, chill out. It's gold. Nora map's pretty standard, macro friendly. Cool.
A lot of people call me out on things that I like to repeat to say or my random tangents, but yeah, we've watched a lot of games these past 2 days, you and I. It's 24 best of 3s over 2 days that you and I get to commentate. And
I know, right? Like, at some point it's okay just to be like, yeah, you know what? You said the right thing, Ben.
Or the nice Wardy, you wait a little bit and it's, yep. And I'm like, yes, Wardy.
But sometimes, though, that happens because I get distracted and, like, I had to do a production thing or something.
No, all RuneScape, Wardy. Let's be real.
Absolutely not. But then there is times like this when I literally heard everything you said. I'm just like, I've got nothing to build on. So, yep. You're right.
Yep.
I'll just give you a good old cheeky little yep. Why the hell not?
Charge is on the go this game. Charge it. Now we can talk.
Yeah. Well, that's what we saw last time as well, right? We saw Charge as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think Drogo just knows what he likes doing. You said it. This was kind of him back in the day. This is him in this current day as well. And it's a very viable build right now as well. Aristori is going to play into the melee upgrade as well. So noteworthy that the Lings are going to be a bit more powerful. He is hitting the lair soon. So we'll see what kind of tech comes off that lair immediately as well. As I do feel as though Drogo, I mean, supply is good for him. Worker count is good. Army supply is good. It kind of feels as though there might be a moment where Drogo, if he just kind of sends it with like Arc on Charge Arc, could actually have a very good push.
And that would be so Drogo in a nutshell, man. It really would. He's so dangerous with it. Like, at one of the recent Home Story Cups, went up against like Cyril, I think, in the first game of the day, and I can't remember if he took a map off him or not with true Drogo style, but it's a very different approach here from Aristori. Like, melee upgrades, he is getting roaches out again. Yeah. He's making it all look fairly similar, but a Spire on the go.
I like the switch
up. Something that... Me too.
Well, what I really like as well is because Drogo obviously went charge last time, so honestly, the charge and actually good catch on this Prism as well. Aristori is on top of things right now. If he can get the mutas up, there's not going to be a lot of immediate anti-air. Storm is not amazing against mutas because the mutas can dodge it because they're so quick to move, right? So you don't really want Archons because they're slow moving too. So there's just without Blink, it's kind of difficult to deal with mutas. So it's going to be really cool. And also, it's a really powerful timing where you go like 7 or 8 mutas, you distract, you cause some trouble in the base. And if you just hit like a Ling Roach Bane timing behind that, it can be so deadly because the Protoss is like scrambling to deal with the mutas. And then your timing on the ground is so powerful on the follow-up. It's so tough for the pros to kind of hold it all kind of together during that. So, but might see something along those lines right now. This Prism finally gets a chance to drop off these couple of Adepts. And we will actually go for 3-4 worker kills. So, not bad at all. The lift back into the Prism as Roach Speed is getting close to finishing. And those mutas are on the way out as well. So that's probably going to be the end of the Prism. And Drogo seems to know about it. Phoenix on the way. And that is a huge setup for him. Knowing that there's mutas coming, getting Phoenix ready just makes his defense so much simpler.
Yep. had to do it. You were talking. You were on a spree. You were doing amazing. Mutas are revealed now.
You're the worst.
No, I mean, you know, I've had a lot of fun today. But mutas are revealed. Drogo's in a lot of trouble here, isn't he? I mean,
You think?
Does have Storm. I do think so. I think this is going to get quite a bit of damage done that he's not quite prepared for.
What I actually think would be really nice, though, is I actually think Aristori needs to not make more mutas because the Fleet Beacon and a second Stargate's coming down. I actually think if what I talked about comes through, which is that like Roachling Bane timing, I actually think that would be very scary because Drogo's really doubling down on Phoenix against the mutas. This is, to me, not the time you make 8 more Mutalisks. I actually would have loved to see the ground timing. I actually think, I mean, I get it, there's Storm and that's scary, but Storm is limited. Like, you look at what's on the ground right now, it's 5 High Templar, an Archon and 2 Immortals. That's it. That's the army. Everything's going into the skies. I mean, we are going to just dive these Phoenix straight up. The mutas believe, but yeah, they probably shouldn't have done.
They absolutely shouldn't. I mean, that was shield battery overcharge, and if you're not killing it in one shot, you're not going to kill it with this kind of army. He's proper leaning into the mutas as well. He's soon going to have +1, which is nice on them. Definitely helps out a lot, but as this Protoss is honkering on down on this 4-base scenario, that's fairly brutal, man. Like, it's not going to be easy to crack the Protoss anymore, and as you said, Anion Pulse Crystals coming online. Oi, oi, oi.
I just, the fact we're still making mutas, like if he was going to make more mutas, I feel like at some point you start making Corruptors so they can tank the Phoenix. He has this ground army setting up right now, but again, imagine how much quicker this could have been if he started doing this, like, I mean, he's made like, 1500 worth of mutas since he could have just made a ground army. Gonna dive in here, we get the Oracles, that's actually a nice start as well. Gotta be careful of those stasis wards when the ground army does show up. We'll see what Rampy wants to push up as well. The Phoenix come into the left-hand side. They're going to go after those mutas as well. And those mutas will be pushed away, and we're going to hit the third on the same time as this. So mutas taking an absolute beatdown. Here's the ground army. Gets up that ramp first. Stasis ward is going to create a force field here. Storm's going through. Another stasis actually saves some of those lings for the moment. Yeah, Aristori had no chance of breaking through on that one.
This is going to be brutal, man. Like, Aristori needs to buy time to get whatever hive tech he's thinking about, and he is capped out. Like, Drogo's still kind of on the back foot, but he's surviving, and that's a lot of Storms available. It's also a hell of a lot of Stalkers, though. Like, the complexity of his army, he just blinks on top, and I mean, these mutas will start getting some damage done over here, but Aristori is not trading efficiently at all, and especially with these Phoenix, that is so much supply and value, just, oi.
Yeah, I mean, that's just rough. Hey, some Balins find some probes, but that feels like the first kind of real victory in a while. Aristori has a ton of money. Now he builds Corruptors. I feel like he's just doing everything in the wrong order. Like, if you were going to make mutas and then Corruptors, like, make Corruptors a while ago, use them to tank the Phoenix for the mutas to keep it doing damage, and then you can maybe, make the Grey Spire later and go Broodlord, sure. I just feel like to me, the game plan's almost out of sync with where the game is at. So, obviously easy to say when none of it's really working out for him. But yeah, there's been a rough game for Aristori, and I just don't feel like his decisions are making it any easier, unfortunately. As Drogo is going to defend against these Lings on the run-by. There's a group of Lings heading towards the natural as well. They are going to get in. I mean, that's the chaos you want right now as the Zerg player. Try and give yourself a chance. He's going to dive on the pylon. Huge warp in here, recall here. That just put the recall on cooldown. We didn't even finish off the pylon. Unfortunate. 2 HP, it gets to survive.
I feel like this game's starting to spiral out of control. Like, this is too much damage just not being done and thrown across the other side of the map. But I mean, this is a nice little grab on these Phoenix. The Corruptor choice was kind of weird, just because it's like, you would normally, if you were doubling down on the muta, you'd want to have all your mutas still alive, whereas, they're all dead. And I know he's got the Great Aspire, so he can start getting Broodlords out, but is this a situation for Broods? He's going to spend all his gas. 11 Broodlords will come online, but
I feel like if there's ever an army to have against Broodlords, 27 Stalkers, 8 High Templar, 5 Phoenix, and 3 Archons might just be it. Like, without having like the full-on Skytoss fleet, Like, this army should just be able to handle this, because there's also really no support from these Broodlords. We're going to drop the Storms on them immediately. The Phoenix can jump on them. Queen's Transfused, and the Broods barely even get some shots off. The Archons can obviously deal the Brood lanes, and apparently for now, that's enough to force Drogo back, but I guess he just wants, honestly, more than anything, I think if he just draws these Broodlords away from that kind of dead airspace, he could probably just kind of go for a blink underneath them.
It's always nice when Broodlords are revealed and you've already got 3 Stargate with a Fleet Beacon available, and it's just like start pumping out some Tempests. Like Aristori, he's not wanted to really make the spellcaster units with his mix, like not in game 1 and not so far in game 2, and granted, he has to get out some brute strength with it, but Drogo's just navigating the map. He's trading efficiently. He can't really fight against this just yet, I feel, not in a little choke like this, so he does have to be a little bit careful, but and he's got a big bank to spend as well here, Wardy. Like, I don't mind him taking trades on the other side of the map, and he is denying bases and getting good trades at that.
Yep, I mean, every base he denies is a win, and he's getting Tempest, so he's just playing the slow, safe way to kind of make sure he can close out against this army. I've got absolutely nothing against that from Drogo. This looks absolutely spot on from him, as the Zealots do get there to clean up those lanes, and his Zealots on the right side, hitting the hatchery as well. You mentioned he's just denying bases. He is just making this as difficult as possible, as Aristori actually lets that base die as well, so no refund. Feeling rough.
Yeah, this is not the I'm going to kill you approach. This is the I'm going to strangle you. I'm going to absolutely deprive you of oxygen here, of resources, taking them out slowly but surely. Broodlords can only be at one place at a time, and granted, there is a lot of them, but these Tempests, they're going to reveal themselves soon. I do see huge blue blobs coming across the map. Nice little fungal grab, but a recall to get out of there, and the hatchery was obviously taken out earlier.
Yep. And Tempest are just going to go and find an overload of all things, but I mean, I would like to see them honestly just gather with everything else, because that feels like they're kind of giving themselves up. You don't want to see them just get picked off for free. So Drogo does fall back and grabs himself the main army, because Aristori is, I mean, he's in this with this army that he's got, but the bank is there from Drogo. He has all the rebuild potential. Aristori is not set up to play a long game at all because of what Drogo has been able to do over the last few minutes. So it's kind of going to be this army, but pushing across Golden Ore does not seem like a fun way to kind of move the Broodlords right now. We're going to try and play it a bit slower, I guess, with Neural and Burrow coming up, so we're going to try and give ourselves options, but honestly, it feels like that's just even more time for Drogo to dig deeper into his bank and to get even better units on the field at this point.
Yeah, and with carriers coming online as well. I mean, we've got a single Viper out, a few Infestors actually going for Neural Parasite upgrade over here as well. Aristori is going for some very, very late game stuff, but the creep spread that's been getting denied here, like his world right now is so claustrophobic. It's such a small map, and he's been really struggling to stay on 5 bases, and this is a Drogo that's been kind of untouched economically for quite some time now.
Yep. I mean, he's coming up to 4K. We've got the Tempest firing up. He's got so much money in the bank. He can really just trade as he wishes. The Corruptors coming over, Broods and Queens coming across. The Tempests do get pushed back here. The Corruptors will actually get on top of the Tempests. To be fair, there's not really a good way to deal with the Corruptors, and that's why Tempests are not always like the best solution. Like, yeah, they blast Broods, but the moment there's Corruptors up, the Tempests are a little bit tougher to make work. Meanwhile, though, drones are just dying. And, well, that's another nice warp in here as you just continue to trade out. Aristori, step by step, is just losing out.
Yeah, it's death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it? It really is. And like, the fights that actually do happen with Broodlords, that's nice, but... And he is getting out of there with a recall. It's costly, but Drogo can afford to be costly, and he's got 15 gateways. This is amazing.
Yeah. So he can just attack anywhere he wants to with that Prism, and obviously this is just, again, you can't respond to this because the Broodlords are so freaking slow. So that's obviously huge, as we just have the Broods slowly making their way down to the bottom side. Plus 2 air weapons is about to finish. 3 more carriers are still in production. I mean, I like that from Drogo. I mentioned the Tempest maybe weren't cutting it. I think carriers do help against those Corruptors a little bit more. But Aristori, man, he will not give up. 28 drones is like, you know what? I've got this, bro. 11 more drones on the way. Lovely.
He's a warrior. He's a warrior. He's getting absolutely obliterated everywhere we look. And now these Broodlords are taking a fight where they don't want to. Like, that is a lot of damage being done to pretty much your last hurrah here in GG. Tied up. Tied on up.
Oof. That was a, I mean, Drogo obviously kind of it felt like he really won this one early, and then he did everything he needed to just shut off any possible comeback mechanism from his opponent. He didn't want to go diving on the Broods too soon, and why would you? You know, you're down 0-1 in a do-or-die matchup like it is. Trying to play it safe and steady, and he did exactly that to guarantee himself the win. And that puts us at 1-1, so we're going to go to another Game 3 today. That is going to be, I think, 4 in a row now. I mean, our Asia matches were pretty quick earlier, but Europe is living up to the hype, getting some typical Europe games, which is a bit more drawn out. Giving us a good day of StarCraft. Again, 3 best of 3s to go after this as well. And we're about to find out whether it's Drogo or Aristori that will live to fight another day.
Yeah, Drogo definitely looked a lot better in that second game, right? Like the meter choice was a little bit risky. Didn't really pay off, and then it was like once all the meters were dead, going into he was just playing behind from that point on, and Drogo just looked like he was having a lot of fun with the way that he was playing. 15 gateways, just pumping out units here, there, and everywhere. But You're right. This has been a nice day of close games. Like this, was it the Spirit Skillis was the first one to really show it off with the 2-1.
Well, even Clem Goblin was a good game. Like the first game of Clem Goblin was 30 minutes long as well. Like we thought Clem had just kind of knocked that up at like 8 minutes, and then Goblin just fought his way back. Did not win, but really kind of made it, you know, Clem sweat for it in the end. So yeah, I think every series in Europe has been pretty awesome, back and forth. Obviously, Reno Harston was on the faster side, but still, because it was very aggressive, but it was still back and forth. I mean, Harston, I was convinced he'd lost that game too when he lost all of his units and then still held. That was kind of incredible. So yeah, no, it's been a great day of Europe.
It really has. It really has. And we're just giving Aristori a little moment here to, you know, refresh a little bit. And I do believe both players are going to be ready very soon. And remember, life on the line now. Loser of this series is out of the tournament. Winner gets to live on to see another day. But I tell you what, rough situation to be in. You know, there's a lot of aggressive plays available. We got to see that earlier with Reynard taking on Harston. And with it all on the line, do you resort to risky play? Do you resort to what you know best? Lots of choices. Lots of choices.
Lots of choices. No, I mean, this is definitely a better map for maybe doing something aggressive for Aristori, and if he's changed it up 2 times so far, maybe this would be the time to kind of go for the more aggressive route of things, and especially if Drogo continues to just do the same thing, maybe you know what it is, especially you would like to do that, so we'll find out. In the bottom right-hand side, the blue Protoss player is PtitDrogo.
And spawning in top left, as our red Zerg, it is Aristori. Nice early probe scout from Drogo again, just using one of the first 12 probes to get on over to the other side of the map. Starting the game off, doing something that you've practiced and maybe your opponent doesn't always have done to them. Although, you know, Zergs do live a masochistic lifestyle, don't they? Like just living the first 5 minutes of any game getting kind of beat up.
Yeah, Zergs just want to do that thing and everyone's like, I'm going to block you and nibble you and just kind of make your life miserable.
Nibble, eh?
Yeah, you need probe nibbles on your workers when you're trying to build a barracks. I know that's not against a Zerg, but some personal demons coming out here.
the taser, yeah. Yeah, and that probe, it's just going to be annoying over here. Slowing down the mineral income just a little smidge there in the main base as well. So it does have a second action that it does, just to be a proper nuisance.
Yep. Proper little nuisance. Next it goes down on the natural. And yeah, we got that Nexus coming through. Hatchgasm pool all underway from Aristori. And Cybercore will drop down from Drogo as well, so we get that into place. Some litter coming up. Just chilling. Here for this game number 3. We've seen obviously some pretty slow openings in these ZVPs, and honestly it could just be very similar again, especially if we see that Stargate come from Drogo. And if Aristori doesn't want to do much, the next 2 or 3 minutes might be just very kind of predetermined, just as we saw in games 1 or 2.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a very similar thing from Drogo here. Like, Stargate is so dominant in this matchup when it comes to, like, just allows you to make the moves you want to. And Twilight Council, if your opponent goes for something very aggressive, roach heavy early on, and you run into that, all of a sudden it's like, oh damn, why did I choose to do this build? At least Stargate gives you some control over your destiny, right? So it will be a Stargate for Drogo. Aristori so far has showcased that he likes the range upgrades, he likes the melee upgrades. He does like a lot of those big, swell, strong Zerg armies as well in the middle.
After game one, that's why I was kind of surprised and kind of, hopping on a bit about, like, cutting mutas and then going into the switch on the ground, because it was kind of similar, he kind of played that aggro setup in game one a bit, but, yeah, no, didn't go that way. See what the plan is in a couple moments. I see the link speed obviously coming through. What does Aristori want to get up to? Does he drop an Evo chamber here? Does he start thinking about a Rotron already? Obviously options are available. So I got a queen, couple things and all the rest of it moving about as well. And that Oracle is just going to be Corona boosting out the Stargate. So from Drogo we see exactly what we expect. The longer you don't really see anything from Aristori, the more this just looks very normal, because the less likely it's going to turn into some kind of big aggression, because he's got nothing to set up with it aggressively. So looks as though he's just happy playing a bit of a longer setup here.
Yeah, Drogo keeping the first Oracle behind here just to make sure he secures getting this third down and it's not going to get cancelled. And Aristori thought about it for a second, forces out the energy being used, and then gets on out of there. So both of them look at that and they're like, okay, that's kind of what I wanted to happen. Back at home, Aristori's like, there's an Oracle back there on the other side of the map. It's going to have less energy available for the time being. Going to get his setup going. 5 to 7 queens very soon.
This really is just build the drones, build the queens, and set up with that economy as strong as we can early. Nexus is halfway done from Drogo on the third base. The Oracles are just like, hey, look, queens. They're going to get rid of one. The other queens are wandering over. They heard there's trouble in the hive, and they are going to get there for the transfusion. So it would have maybe been a couple drones instead, but hey, queen is still a decent grab early on.
That was definitely a nice transfuse there to keep that queen alive, because that could have been the start of, I don't want to say a bit of a snowball effect, but something later on. I talked about how Drogo likes to approach the game a little bit like big game in a sense. If he does X amount of damage, it opens up this avenue of possibility. It will be a Robo, Twilight Forge, all the same stuff from him. No upgrade yet at the Evo. It is on the way to completing, along with a Roach Warren. If you're Aristori, I can imagine you just go back to what worked in game one and not go with the stuff that didn't work out right. Yeah, that'd be kind of my headspace if I was him.
I mean, I would say it's very difficult to actually try and not go back to what's already worked once, So I'm with you. The only concern there might be the fact that you think back to what worked and like, well, actually, is what I did what worked, or was it the fact that Drogo just denied the acceptance and existence of a Nidus network? Because I actually felt like initially Aristori was kind of stuck on an army that was looking pretty rough, and then it was the Niduses that really opened up the game for him. So, but yeah, obviously he did end up winning that game. It got him into the position to play the Niduses, so maybe that's still what you play for, but it's anything but a clean slate. It's anything but a free slate if you just kind of play like that first game. Because I did feel as though there was definitely some timings potentially for Mr. Drogo that he was maybe on the verge of taking before those Niduses popped and ruined his entire plan.
Oh yeah, definitely. Drogo's going to suffer a bit of a supply block here. Very unfortunate, because he has been powering up nicely. Both of them on about 70 workers apiece. Those Oracles did come over here and saw that this base was in production. And they do get to come over as these drones are fleeing for their lives, greeted by a bunch of queens though. Drogo's been alright with his Oracles. Like, it's only 4 drones that's died so far, because he spent quite a bit of time trying to kill queens instead. But it's technically a flawless game from so far, suffering 0 losses, and it's going to be a lot of Protoss on the field very soon. 4 gates are currently done, but a few more are changing over here. So that number is going to ramp up to, how many is this? 8 gateways available. Charge just about finished, +1 as well. It's a big timing for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got everything kind of available if you want to just send it. The Prism comes in with these couple of Adepts, tries to find some drones, finally gets 1 kill, but the Lings will have to cornered in, but the Shade goes down, and there'll be a couple more kills up in the main base, so 3-4 workers now dropping down dead. As the Bane speed, the Roach speed continuing up, and that is where you want to be as Aristori before anything happens, and to be fair, Drogo's just sat at home, so it doesn't look like much else will happen.
No. A little bit of drone damage being done. Drogo very comfortable with just getting up to 4 bases and just letting the game do the talking. Lots of roaches in the middle. Creep spread kind of venturing out a little bit. There's not been too much halting that progress from Drogo. Drogo again suffering a little bit of a supply block here. Maybe the nerves showing a smidge. Will be a Nexus finishing up soon, which will allow him to produce more units, but
Yep. We're just gonna have the units moving across to that right side. Drogo setting up in front of that 4th base. The Oracle's gonna come around as well. And just gonna see the Orb Observer is there. We're just gonna drop the Revelation to keep track of things. The Orbs will go down, unfortunately, so that will be that.
And Aristori is actually morphing in a lot of Ravagers now. And usually, whenever you morph in Ravagers or Banelings, he's doing both. That's a sign that you're ready for a fight.
Yep, go time.
Ready to get a fight going, and that's a lot of Zerg now. Not the most high-tech Zerg. We've seen him venture down different avenues in the series so far, be it Broodlords or Lurkers. Warp Prism staying alive just about there, getting into the main base. But Drogo is hitting a lot of supply here, and it's going to be a big high-tech army from him as well.
The 1 HP Prism to just buy some extra time, and soaks up a bunch of Banelings as well. That's really nice. That depowers the Aristori timing and just what was in that timing as well. So that's a pretty big deal, I would say, as we do have Drogo. Again, time is his friend because more tech units is almost always going to be a good thing. So the closer we get to all that, the better off we should be. As the cross files keep coming in.
It's a lot of Zerg. It's going to come in from a lot of angles, but Drogo's been ready for this for a long time here. Storms do start landing on the Banelings. The Banelings are a little bit indecisive of where they want to go. Those probes run into their absolute doom, and Immortals, pretty damn good unit. Archons as well, and he's ready to launch a counterattack of his own. Nice defensive setup here from Aristori with those roaches very well situated, but Drogo, he's going to launch it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very good fight. Not a single Bane really connected with that army. So Drogo got a great fight, and he's immediately going across the map to make the most of it. And he knows he's done some damage as well. Roaches and reproduction just are not the tech that you need right now. Aristori does not seem as though he has got a route to kind of stay alive in this. Storm goes down the roaches, but they're also going to be met by Immortals, so that's not going to be fun. So many drones dying as Aristori is struggling on the natural. He loses this 4th base. I mean, Drogo can probably push up into the 3rd as well. There's not really a reason to slow down. As long as this is just roach production from his opponents, he can jump on roaches all he wants. Unfortunately, we'll lose the prism, so that's the end of the warp-ins here. And that may be the one thing that slows him from going any further. Without reinforcements, he might just step back a second and go back home, get a new prism, and then think about going once again.
That's the damage he was looking for, though. I mean, that was so much eco damage, and Aristori looks like he's going to be coming out for one last hoorah. Drogo warping in a lot more High Templars. Look at that. That's going to be... I said he was an Archon boy, an Archon Zealot boy, and that is a lot of Archons. I mean, Roach Ravager isn't meant to be super terrible against Archons, but in that number, with that amount of Immortals, that is a scary army to go up against.
I mean, the more tech units, the better, basically, for Protoss in this situation. We see the Archons, Immortals coming around, and, well, the Roach Ravager just does not really have the numbers to it to really fight this at all. So Aristori is going to, again, be losing drones back at home. He's just going to have to back it up. He's just got nothing going his way, really, at the moment. Tough time.
It's a real tough time, Wardy. It's a real tough time. He just got absolutely bludgeoned, you know. Comes back home to deal with those Zealots, but that allows Drogo to move out across the map, catches some Ravagers trying to morph as well. Hive is on the way, but with 48 drones, about to lose your 4th base. It's just not pretty.
Hatchery goes down. Another couple storms coming in. Roach Ravager will take some hits. Corrosive Biles coming down. We have to split away from that. Corrosive Biles again. The Immortal's going to step back up once more. We see, I mean, there's just no way you win this fight as Aristori. The supplies, the composition, everything about it is looking pretty rough. And Drogo will close out this matchup with the 2-1 victory. And gets it done. Recovers from the 1-0 deficit. It's that experience that haven't been here before, Ben.